Good evening, everybody. This is Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and we are here live on the Work on Workplace Relations with Aastha. That's our weekly live show. And I'm Aastha Tatia, your happiness coach. And I want to welcome all of you, waiting for all of you to join in. And we are live on three platforms: YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So as always, very, very excited to meet you all, waiting for all of you to join in. So meanwhile, let me quickly share with you what work on workplace relations with Aastha is all about. So, it's of course, as the name suggests, about workplace relationships, and how do you work on your workplace relationships? Most of the challenges that all of us face at workplace, they boil down to strained relationships that we have at workplace, right? And what do you really do about it? How do you deal with those relationships is what we talk about in this show. And how do we do that? We pick up different aspects of workplace relationships, different aspects of what's happening at the workplace, different aspects of things that you deal with day in and day out at your workplace, and how that impacts you. And then we also go a step further, क्योंकि आपके workplace relationships कैसे हैं, that is only a reflection of what's going on inside you as an individual. It is a reflection of your relationship with yourself, right? So we often pick up topics or aspects which actually have something to do directly with your relationship with yourself. But that is the foundation for you to create powerful relationships, at your workplace, right? So that's what we do in this show. Welcome, all those of you who are joining in. Such a pleasure to have you. Drop in a hi. Like I said, we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. Say a hi, drop in a hi so that I know who's joining in. I can't really see it here, but I would love to say a hi to you. Whichever platform you are joining in from, let me know. And I would love to say a hi. Okay, great. So let's get started. How can happy leaders create happy workplaces? That's what we are going to talk about today. Happy leaders कैसे happy workplaces create करते हैं? Um, do we really need leaders to be happy in order to have workplaces which are happy, or how does it work? Let's get down to that. Okay, so इसको break करते हैं. How can happy leaders create happy workplaces? Let's break this into two. There are two parts to it. One is happy leaders और दूसरा है happy workplaces. तो अगर पहले हम बात करते हैं happy workplaces की, what do you really mean by happy workplaces? So workplaces happy है मतलब every individual who's part of the organization, who's there, is happy, right? वो खुश है, तो which means the whole workplace is happy, right? Now a workplace is constituted by, उसमें कौन कौन होते हैं? You have all these different people who are there. So you have the leaders also there, you have the teammates also there, then you have your colleagues who are there, then you have some investors who may be there, you have your all these stakeholders who are there. Everybody, these are the roles we're saying, but everybody constitutes the workplace. Everybody together makes up the workplace, all these different people, right? And when each of them, or largely all of them, are happy about it, happy about being at the workplace, then we say yes, it's a happy workplace. People are happy there. So a happy workplace is made up of happy people, right? I hope we all agree to this. Let me know in the comments if you agree to this. Let me know. And if you have any other view, let me know that as well. Okay. Now, when we talk about happiness, and we say most of the times happiness is an internal thing, my happiness depends upon me. I mean, I choose to be happy. It's not something which lies outside, right? Then comes the second term, which is happy leaders. Then do really those leaders impact the happiness? So now we are talking about one segment of what constitutes the workplace. So the leaders, or right now I want to use the term boss. So I want to use the term boss to say that one segment in the organization which is kind of leading the people, which is the head of a particular department, or maybe the senior management, whoever they are, in whatever capacity, being the bosses, do they really impact the happiness of the people, or their being happy is really important or related to a happy workplace? So let's talk about that. Right now, when we talk about these leaders, a recent survey by GI Group, which was done in all major Indian cities, and this had some 1,000 plus employees and some 300 plus employers, all major cities. Okay, one of the statistics was some 79% employees said that the leadership in the organization impacted their mental health. 79% of them, right? And I want to add on another statistic. Almost all my master classes that I do on Sundays, where I have different leaders joining in from across the country, a majority, I mean, at times almost a whopping 80-90% says they have a strained relationship with their bosses. They have strained relationships with other people as well, but a majority has a strained relationship with their bosses, and they have no clue what to do. And that has a massive impact on them. The strained relationship with the bosses, with the leadership. So whether you talk about the survey or the statistics that I've experienced, which is in my master classes, they all point in one direction, that one, majority of them have a strained relationship with their bosses, no access, how to deal with it. And the other thing, that strained relationship with bosses has an impact on their mental well-being, their happiness. Now, while we say happiness is an internal thing, let's understand and let's delve a little deeper into how these leaders are impacting the happiness of these people, right, and the workplace overall. So when we talk about the leaders, how they are dealing with their people. I mean, I can quote n number of examples where there have been people coming and they say that, I'm quitting the organization because my leader or my boss, this is the kind of relationship that I have. Or they walk up and they say, I think there is too much of politics. My boss supports my junior, sidelines me, and there is a pain, there's a challenge there. Okay, and similar kind of instances that are there, people who've suffered for some time, they let things happen. There is a massive fear, I can't be saying this or not saying this, what will the boss think, will he like it or not like it, how should I conduct myself, and there are a lot of different fears. Of course, there's a larger umbrella, but different areas depending upon the individual's insecurities or whatever fear that he or she has, but that is impacting them mentally. And I can't tell you the amount of impact this has on them. People end up feeling frustrated, depressed, lonely, very low, unclear, lost, not sure of what they must do. Should they quit the organization, move to the next one? But they realize when they move to the next one, something similar happens there. May not happen, but may happen too. So it's like you're stuck in some kind of a place where you don't know what to do about it, right? And this comes from a place, I would say, inherently, the way it is structured, the way organizations are structured, um, and the way, especially in Indian context, if I have to talk, the whole conditioning is such and the whole system is such where people do not dare, if I may use the word, they do not dare to confront their bosses, because at times it turns so toxic, or at times it is not conducive, or the fear is so much, the stakes are very high, that they choose to keep quiet. They choose to just hold themselves back. Now, while there are two schools of thoughts here, one would be, okay, the responsibility lies on you. You've got to do something about it. You can't be putting a blame on your boss, the leader, all the time. Agreed. That's a muscle that needs to be built. How you deal with it, how you let it not impact you. So in that sense, of course, the onus lies on me as well. But because the way it is structured, I cannot be operating in isolation. I am related, or I am connected to my boss, and my everyday mental well-being, happiness depends upon how this connect is. And fortunately, I'd say unfortunately, most of the times the bosses have an upper hand there. There are limited bosses, limited leaders who are really mindful of the fact that, okay, can we make it like an equal relationship? Can I really be mindful of what my people are going through? Can I really do the work where I understand what are their aspirations? Are they aligned to the organization's goals? Are they really happy in what they're doing? What are their struggles? Yes, there are those leaders, and they have amazing teams, amazing environment there. So then what differentiates these leaders from the others who are maybe not as mindful, whose behavior takes a toll on the overall environment and people's well-being, mental well-being? What differentiates? So that, and by the way, it's not an accident, it's not a coincidence that, oh, I've just had this one person, he is like that. No, he's not born like that. Yeah. And the other one is born the other way. No, it's not that. But these leaders who are mindful, who are conscious of are being how they are conducting themselves, are leaders who have done the work on themselves, who are conscious, how am I impacting my people? Am I empowering them, or am I disempowering them? So, and that's where we come to this term, happy leaders. These leaders are happy with themselves. They are happy in themselves. They are at peace with themselves. So that's where it all starts. If we expect a certain boss, a certain leader, to be mindful of what his people are going through, to be mindful and conscious of what his team is feeling, are they happy, are they enjoying the work, are they able to deal with everyday stuff powerfully, he can only do that when he has that solid relationship with himself, right? So it all starts by leader doing the work on himself, number one, and then that having an impact on his relationship with everybody else. So, like I said, outside is just a reflection of what's going on inside. So when people suffer because of the leadership, because of a strained relationship with the boss, with the leadership, that connect not being there, it's because of course, both need to do the work. Muscle has to be built here as well, but here also. But when leadership behaves a certain way and that impacts a larger number of people, then these are people who are not in harmony with themselves. They are not at peace with themselves. They have a certain belief system which is limiting them. Yeah. And that belief system is giving them the behavior that they are exhibiting. So they are arrogant, or maybe they are shouting, they are temperamental, they do not acknowledge people, just some of the examples I'm giving. Or maybe they are sometimes abusive, okay? So any of these things which doesn't go down well with people, or which impacts them in a negative way, is because these people have not done the work. They are not happy themselves. And that's where it is important for any training, any coaching, any kind of work that needs to be done at the organizational level, must start with top. It always flows from top down, top to bottom. Because when these people become aware, when these people do the work on themselves, the leaders, and then they get their people to do it, it's a sync. But when work is done with the lower level or the lower tiers or the middle management, the low management, but the top people remain the way they are, then the whole effect fizzles out because these people do not get the response from their bosses, from their leaders. Yeah. So I think in that sense, and because I would say the statistics have been very, 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 I'd say they are biased in one direction massively, and that has a far reaching effect. I think the workplaces these days have become very, very strained. People have no clue how to deal with it, and everybody's just busy chasing those targets, doing stuff, and at at one point you end up losing people who could really turn out to be assets, who already are assets, just because you do not have the capability to deal with your own limiting beliefs. You have, as leaders, you do not have the access of how do you manage yourself. Rather, I'd say you don't even have the awareness in these cases that I just quoted. And unknowingly, you end up impacting the mental well being of people around. And that's where we go back to the statistics, like I said. 79% say the leadership impacts their mental well being, right? So I think it becomes very, very important. One of the biggest way to turn around that happiness quotient at workplace, to make these happy workplaces, is not to just train the people, get happy, be happy, do this amongst yourselves, be very, very happy. That's fine, that needs to be done, of course. But today what we are talking about is how these leaders can do the work, because here lies a big onus. Not only what they are bringing to the table for the organization, but how they are impacting their teams, the people. And it's these people, these teams, who are doing or creating everything, not the leaders alone. So, this whole connection, leader to his people, is a very critical one and is often ignored, completely ignored. So there's no check. A lot of times, I've had leaders who say we've reached out to our maybe senior and then the super senior, or we've reached out to the HR, or we've reached out to the other people. I'm talking about senior leaders also. Still, they are struggling. There's no action that is taken. They have no idea what to do about it. And after a point, they've got nothing left but to quit and move to the next organization, where they end up dealing with a similar kind of situation because even they have no access. Right? So it becomes a vicious circle, it becomes a trap, and the workplaces become, in the absence of a mechanism, in the absence of a whole mindful approach to this whole thing, how do you deal with this to create a happy workplace? People are left at the mercy of whatever is happening, and it just, that's what the culture becomes then. That's the culture of the organization, and that's where people suffer. And these leaders also are not happy, and that has an impact on the organization, right? So that aspect I wanted to touch upon today, and this is for all the leaders out there, because when you are giving out a certain kind of behavior, the question you need to ask yourself is, are you happy doing that? You've behaved a certain way, but consider at the back there is some pain that you are dealing with, and you have no access as to how do you deal with it. There are beliefs that are holding you back, that are giving you the behavior that you are exhibiting. So when you're not able to empower people, when you pull your people down, when you unknowingly disempower them, that is painful for you also, for whatever reasons. And you have no idea you're disempowering them, but for you, that's the way. But that's where the first strike has to be. That's where the work needs to start and then flow down to the team and everybody else, I think. And when the leaders are happy, when the leaders are happy, they are not going to leave their teams unhappy. They will do whatever it takes on their part, whatever they have to do to support the team. And even if that means seeking help for them to do the work on themselves, they're going to do that. But if they don't understand, they are in that pain, then that's what they're going to give out. So outside is just a reflection of what's going inside. If a workplace is toxic, if a workplace is painful, people are not enjoying, people are not celebrating, then you need to really look at the individuals. You need to look at the leadership. You will find them unhappy. And that's where the work needs to be done first. I'm repeating that again and again because I can't tell you the number of people who have shared this, who are at pain, who have no access how to deal with such workplaces and such leaders or bosses. Yep. So I hope this just gives you some food for thought. Hi Manish. Hi Siddharth. Hi, Rajni Shankar. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining in and being here. But I just hope, let me know. Do write to me. What are your thoughts about it? What are your experiences at your workplace? What is it that you're experiencing? And what are your perspectives in this direction? Yeah, I'll be really, really happy to read that. And I think that's what learning is all about. So I shared something. Now, what is it that you feel? What have your experiences been? Let's share that. And also, if you are a leader in whatever capacity that you are in, please just get mindful. That could be one of the possible takeaways. You may have your own, but it could be that you become more mindful of how you're conducting yourself. And if you think that there is something that's holding you back and it's impacting your behavior, then you need to identify your limiting beliefs because that has a massive impact, right? And you need to stand in responsibility for yourself. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you need to somewhere, take charge of what's happening there and take charge for yourself before even going out there and doing something for your people. Take charge for yourself, your mental well-being, your happiness. And once you've done that, like I said, when the interior, whatever it is going to reflect outside. And I can tell you, you're going to experience a turnaround in your team, in the overall environment, in the organization. I can guarantee you without an exception. Yeah, lovely. Hi, Mukta. Leaders must take the responsibility to work upon themselves to lead beautifully, and employees must work upon themselves so that if they don't get good leaders, they be strong enough not to suffer. Very, very true. Very, very true. That's absolutely right. A lot of times, these people, when they suffer, the employees, they're not even able to take action. They don't have the muscle to do that. They continue to sulk, bear that pain, and that has had massive impact on so many of these people. Ultimately, they end up quitting because there's no resort left. There's nothing left for them to do. The pain becomes intolerable, and they quit. Now, how about, I think I was just talking to one leader today, and we just spoke about this one distinction where you may still quit. Okay. I'm not saying that if you're not suffering or not sulking, then you need not quit. You may still want to quit. But that same action of quitting can come from two different approaches. One is I've suffered and suffered and suffered such a huge impact on me, and now I can't tolerate. I have no option left. I'll break down completely. So let me quit. That's one scenario. And the other one is where I say, I'm not going to let myself get impacted. I've done the work on myself so much so that I've started to build the muscle where I'm not impacted by the outside. Now, what does it mean I'm not impacted? I mean, we are all human beings, you will say, right? If boss says something, you learn to make a distinction that whatever he or she says has got nothing to do with me. Okay, I've had a leader who said, just because the boss has been repeatedly doubting me or repeatedly saying in his or her statements that you don't deserve to do this, or at your position, how can you give such a result, such an outcome? Don't you understand? That she started to completely doubt herself. She started to believe, I don't deserve to be here. I am not good for anything. Now, when you let that impact you because you don't have the muscle to stay away from all of this, then it impacts you in a very, very negative way, disempowering way. So that's one. The other is when you're not impacted, but you say, I don't want to be surrounded by such people or in such an environment, and I choose to quit. Action remains the same. You're quitting in both these scenarios, but it's coming from different context. I have no option left. It's very, very painful. Crying and quitting versus smiling and quitting that, okay, this is what it is. I choose to stand by me. I choose, to move out of an environment that doesn't serve me. And you do that. Right? So definitely the muscle needs to be built. That onus lies on me. But from an organizational perspective, definitely anything that the organization does must start with the leadership doing the work. Because interestingly, that's how we are structured. The structure is such where somewhere the bosses or the leaders have an upper hand, intentionally or unintentionally, but that's how it is. There are few leaders who really want to play the game of equality, or let's say we are all at the same level, let's play that game, right? So that's where we're looking at this aspect of happy leadership, which is critical to the workplace happiness, right? Great. So this was just a perspective. Do share what do you think about it, and would love to hear from you. Hope this was meaningful, and I think the whole idea is to, of course, listen and then look at what can be implemented, how it can be done, right? And yeah, that's where this really becomes meaningful. Otherwise, it fizzles out, right? So great. So I'm going to see you next Sunday. Thank you so much, Mukta, for your inputs. Thank you, others who joined in, and those of you who would be watching. I would love to hear from you. Until next Sunday, have a great, great week ahead. Sending you lots of love, lots of happiness, and a week full of doing work on yourself. Like I really, really say, do the work on yourself. That's the essence of this life. In whatever way, whatever capacity, whatever amount, whatever proportion, please do keep doing the work on yourself. Super, great. So take care. See you. Bye bye. Have a great week ahead.